Has anyone ever told you that the world is complicated, that the economy is complicated, that politics is complicated, that society is complicated, that only experts can understand these things, and you'd better just trust them? This is the first lie. And I am not the one saying this. The Greek philosophers said it 2,500 years ago. The world is not complicated. The world is simple. What is complicated is the layer of falsehoods that have been piled on top of its simplicity. How do we tell one from the other? How to distinguish principle from law, truth from confusion? Because this distinction changes the way you see everything. Let's start with two words. Arche means principle, and nomos means law. In modern language, we use principle and law almost interchangeably. But in Greek philosophy, they are entirely different things. So different that confusing them is itself a source of suffering. Arche, I would say architecture, the principle, is the primary cause of something, the order that governs the universe, for example, nature, the soul. It is the very expression of the logos within reality. It exists on its own. It is what simply is, whether you accept it or not. Connected to arche, we have another word, which gives us something extraordinary. The word Yparcho, which means to exist. What does it really mean? Today we say I exist, and we use it to say, yes, I am alive. But Yparcho contains an entire philosophical program inside it. Υπό plus archo. Yparcho is to function under a principle, to understand the order that governs the world, the logos, the natural laws, the principles of truth, and through this understanding to develop free will. To exist isn't simply a state. It is an active process. The one who truly exists, who understands the principles, has nothing imposed on them because they have understood. The knowledge of truth makes them self-governing, capable of governing themselves. And the opposite, the one who doesn't understand the principles, doesn't truly exist in the full sense. They are simply present, they can react, and they can follow. Now, the word law is nomos. Human law, what is it? It is the formulation of rules that are emerging from human agreement or imposition. And these laws can be just or unjust. A law can reflect the principle or totally distort it. And when the law doesn't come from people who understand the logos, it becomes a tool of domination. Heraclitus says, the true law is one and common to all, the cosmic logos. Everything else is human convention. Socrates challenged the human laws of his time for exactly this reason. Not because he was an anarchist or something, but because he defended truth against the corruption of his time and the convention of his time. In my book, Beyond Evil, I am using an analogy. Fire. Fire burns. That is a law. It is a recording of a phenomenon. Now, this sentence is useful, but it's limited. The principle of fire is something else entirely, because it is the understanding of its nature, what it destroys and what it creates. And of course, how to protect yourself if necessary, and how to defend yourself if someone uses it against you, and how to use it yourself in a creative way. The knowledge of the law tells you don't touch it. The knowledge of the principle gives you freedom to choose when to approach and when not to, and for what purpose. And this applies to everything. The law that says you must respect the king, for example, has no moral value whatsoever. It is social imposition. This is not a principle. It doesn't teach you what respect is. It doesn't teach you why you should respect this person. And it doesn't teach you self-knowledge. It forces you to do what? To pretend. And you don't even realize you are pretending. And because this thing isn't truth, it needs some kind of effort to be applied. You need to be either convinced or persuaded or be trained or be taught in school about it. You need punishment, you need policing, you need some kind of fear, some kind of threat maybe. You need social programming. You need education. This is the sign of every false principle. It requires coercion to survive. The true principle needs no coercion. When something becomes conscious as a principle, consciousness itself recognizes it and aligns freely with it. Odysseus Elytis, one of our poets, he died, I think he died in the 90s, he says, the law that I am will not subjugate me. The inner law, the one emerging from the very understanding of principles, cannot be subjugated by any external law, because it is much deeper and because it is more true. He also said this: truth is made in exactly the same way as a lie. And this: to stand firmly on the ground of earth, one of your feet must be outside it. And this: a legislation completely useless to the powers, that would be true salvation. And this: when you hear order, it smells of human flesh. And finally, this was said in 1979 at his Nobel Prize press conference. He said to the journalists, I have already told you, it is barbarism. I see it coming disguised through unlawful alliances and pre-arranged subjugations. It will not be Hitler's ovens, perhaps, but a methodical, quasi-scientific subjugation of man, his complete humiliation, his dishonor. Plato gives us an image that makes all of this very, very concrete and understandable. He says, the ideal city resembles a human body. When we hit a finger, the entire body will feel the pain automatically, without any command, without any law saying when we hurt, we must feel it. This is how a society that lives by principles should function. When something good or bad happens to one citizen, the city feels it as its own. It is happy or sad to, together with them, not because some law compels it, but because there is a genuine unity here. The fragmentation, says Plato, comes when some people say, that's my problem, and others say, it doesn't concern me. So this disagreement, the failure to use the words mine and not mine in the same way for the same things, is the very root of social collapse. And what is happening today? Just look around. How many people feel that what happens to their neighbor concerns them? How many say, it doesn't concern me, and then wonder why the world is going so wrong? Because that is a society without principles. And this doesn't apply only to one country, it applies to many countries at this point. We are societies that live by laws with a small l, imposed because there is no inner understanding whatsoever. And now we come to something else, because if the principle is simple, why can't so many people see it? And this is where confusion enters. Confusion, very nice word. Every day we receive a wave of terms, concepts, models, solutions, ideologies, slogans, identities, fears, promises. This is all noise, and this noise, it is not random. Its goal isn't truth. It is the management of impressions and the control of attention. You hear that the economy is complicated, but in reality, the economy is very simple. You have time, you have work, you exchange with others, and our common currency should serve that exchange, not imprison you, not put you in debt. The complexity is all constructed, and it is confusion by design. Then they tell us that politics is complicated. But again, the principle is very simple. Whoever governs must have wisdom and virtue, must account for every decision, and must serve the common good. Everything else, absolutely everything else, parties, ideologies, political alliances, is just confusion that conceals this simple principle. They also tell us trust science, so you're not permitted to question. But the very principle of science, of true science, is continuous questioning. Science that doesn't permit questioning isn't science anymore. It is dogma, it is law with a small l. Episteme is what we translate as science or knowledge. Speusippus, who was Plato's nephew and successor at the academy, defined it as episteme is the soul's unwavering grasp, a comprehension that cannot be moved by argument. We have nothing to do here with information, we have nothing to do with consensus. It is not what the majority of experts agree on this week. It is a comprehension so deeply rooted in the soul that no external pressure, no authority, no fear can move it. Notice what this means. It means that true knowledge for the Greeks begins with the self, with an inner stability that has been tested by reason and held firm. This is a scientist. This is science, episteme. You cannot have episteme without first having cultivated the soul that carries it. This is why Plato wrote above the entrance to the academy, "Let no ignorant of geometry enter." He was referring to inner geometry. Today we do the exact opposite. We give knowledge without first cultivating the soul, and so we produce scientists without ethics, specialists without wisdom, and experts whose comprehension shifts with funding, consensus, and career pressure. Science that cannot be questioned is an episteme. By its own Greek definition, it is something else entirely. And trust the science, as a command to stop questioning, would have struck every Greek philosopher as not just wrong, but as the precise negation of what science actually is. Many of the concepts we were taught to consider enlightened functioned in practice as tools of power, whether they are called faith, progress, equality, democracy. Any word, any idea can be corrupted if it is cut from the principle and used as a means of imposition. So we have two criteria that are simple, applicable, that we can use every day. Whatever gives you knowledge, understanding, power and freedom is principle. Whatever strips you of your choice in the name of some kind of order is human law. Whatever makes you more free is true, and whatever frightens you in order to control you is false. This is something that we can apply right now, today, to every piece of information that we receive. Because philosophy, it is not an academic exercise. It is a path of self-knowledge and return to the principles. And that path begins with a very simple question. What you believe, do you believe it because you understood it, or because someone told you to believe it?